There have been a lot of games in the last couple years that have adapted popular properties, but none of them I feel have done such a great job as the Spider-Man games. I feel like these games have been so amazing, and Sony did an amazing job with this universe, with these characters, and taking these existing characters and doing something completely new with them. And that's what the Spider-Man games do, and Spider-Man 2 is no exception. I feel like this game just does so many great things. It just improves over the first two entries in so many amazing ways, and I feel like it really lives up as a sequel. However, there's a few things that I noticed here and there that are kind of constant in this franchise, and that's what I want to talk about today, like highlighting some of the great things about the game, some of the bad things, and also like give my own opinion about why this game is so special and why it deserves all the hype it has been getting. So the second Spider-Man game basically continues the story of the first two, and it improves a lot of mechanics on the gameplay. This is one of the things I enjoyed about the game, is just like all the ways it takes the Peter Parker character, expands his story, his powers, and also Miles Morales too. And I feel like this is the first time in forever where the two main Spider-Man, Miles Morales and Peter Parker, share the same like game or movie or whatever as two side protagonists. Like not a Spider-Man and his sidekick, but I feel like each one had like equal time as to be a protagonist, to shine, and that's something I enjoyed a lot about this game. There's so many great missions with both characters, and I feel like it improves the story a lot. I feel like in Spider-Man Miles Morales, even though it was a shorter game than the first one, it allowed us to see a lot of different things with this character, like his story, like develop him more as a household name, because that's basically what Spider-Man, the Miles Morales Spider-Man, is becoming over the last couple years with the Spider-Verse movies, and I feel like it's a great thing. I feel like he's a great character that lives up to the name, and I feel like Peter Parker and Miles do deserve to be in the same game together, and this is one of the best things about the game for myself personally. And before I go into the main story, which is something I want to talk about, is I want to focus a little bit more on the gameplay, because this one improves a lot of great aspects over the first two entries. We see both Miles and Peter's abilities expanded in so many ways, including like a new traversal system, which is like the web wings, which I thought it was so fun. I thought that was a great mechanic in this game, and that's something I really enjoyed, just like exploring New York with the wings, and then with the swinging, and also with all the new suits. I like this one has a lot of amazing suits from some from the first game, and a lot of them that were not in the first game, such as the Spider-Man 2099 suit, the black Spider-Man from Spider-Man 3. That was one of my favorite ones to use. And in general, I just love the way this game made me feel like Spider-Man again. I feel like this one really showcases the best of the character. It really allows you to put yourself into the shoes of what Spider-Man is and like his full essence. And I especially enjoyed not only like the main missions with the supervillains like trying to save the city, like really epic proportions, but also the smaller side missions. I feel like they were really well done. For example, there are a few where you help like random citizens, and that's some of the best things about this game. So the gameplay is great. The characters were great. There's a lot of villains in this one. You fight a lot of really classic Spider-Man villains, such as Sandman, Lizard, and Venom, which is one of my favorite characters of all time. I got my Venom right there. It was a really great purchase. I really enjoyed the special edition of the Spider-Man 2 game. Even though you had to exchange a code, like it didn't even come with a disc, which is something I found very surprising in today's era where everything is being digitalized and you don't really own your stuff. So that is one of my pet peeves with the special edition. But, you know, it's a great game, and I really like the statue, so I think it was worth it. So yeah, I really enjoyed the villains, except for one, which is what I'm going to talk about right now. So right now I'm going to talk about what I think is the biggest problem, not only with Spider-Man 2, but also I think the first game, because it is a very recurring theme in these games. What I'm talking about is like the extreme focus on one single villain and one single storyline, like up to like 3/4 of the story. So as an example, in the first game, you battle Martin Lee, also known as Mr. Negative, for almost the entirety of the game. Like I felt like every single mission in the story related to the demons, the storyline, and then you get to the main course of the game, which is the Sinister Six, which was an amazing storyline and like amazing characters, and that is like the thing I was waiting for. But before I had to do like 30 demon missions. I mean, that's probably an exaggeration, and that's something I felt the same way in Spider-Man 2. So in Spider-Man 2, Kraven is one of the main villains, one of the main focuses of the game. Kraven the Hunter. I feel like he's a character that Sony's starting to like kind of build up, because they got a movie upcoming this year, I think in August, and honestly, I just feel like he's a very like absurd and uninteresting villain. Maybe that's a controversial opinion, but I just don't like Kraven that as much as other characters. I feel like he was kind of a C-lister up until like the last couple years. I feel like Sony's trying to make the most out of these side characters because they can't really make movies with Spider-Man on there. Madame Web, Morbius.
It's Morbin time.
But at the same time, I feel like Kraven could have been better. I liked his portrayal. Like, don't get me wrong, I feel like he was good. But my main problem with Kraven was that he got old fast. I feel like if this game had multiple storylines, like even if it were not like one ends at one point and then the other starts, the other one ends at another point, I feel like it could have been much better if he just like was there for like a third of the story, like 10 missions, and then he came back again, like kind of like mishmashed the story with other elements. But instead of that, I feel like we got kind of like the first third of the story was Kraven with, normal Spider-Man. Then the second third was like Kraven against like the symbiote Spider-Man, which was really fun to play. I forgot to mention that, but the new gameplay mechanics with the symbiote Spider-Man were so good. And then the last third, or like last fourth, is kind of Venom. But I feel like before that, you have to like battle 30 missions with Kraven. It was like Kraven, Kraven, Kraven. And that was probably my main issue with the story, but that is my opinion. Maybe some people really enjoyed the Kraven storyline, and maybe that's just like me exaggerating, but that's kind of like what I felt. But in the grand scheme of things, I felt like the game was fun enough to justify this. I don't feel like the game was bad because of it, but it could have just been a little bit better. Like maybe introduce some new villains. For example, I really enjoyed the story with, spoiler alert, but there's a certain character that like really recognizable from the comics who shows up in one of like the side missions, and that would have been a really interesting storyline to like mix with the main stories. There's like a tinges of also Doctor Strange, of Black Cat, like they have like their own stuff going on, and it kind of like teases like more stuff. And there's also a post-credit scene that teases a lot of great things for Spider-Man 3. So yeah, in general, I have a lot of thoughts about this game. I really enjoy the direction they're taking. I just hoping that Spider-Man 3 has like a little bit longer missions and also like a longer story that kind of mixes the best out of all these elements in the best way. I hope we get a conclusion to a lot of these stories. And also I want to talk about Venom before I finish. So Venom is one of my favorite characters of all time. I feel like Venom is just one of the greatest Spider-Man villains. The movies are okay, like they're not the greatest. Tom Hardy's portrayal was very good. I like that design of Venom, but I feel like this one has the best Venom design out of all of them that I've seen. Honestly, the more I talk about Venom, the more happy I am with my statue over there. I feel like his character in this game is just so good. Even though without spoiling anything, it takes a really big turn from the Venom we know and love, like a very, very big character turn. I won't talk about it much. You have to play the game to understand what I'm talking about. But this Venom is fundamentally different from other versions of Venom that we've seen. And I feel like it worked well. Like, I'm not going to complain about that. And also there's like several other stuff that Venom does that is kind of weird, like completely new to the character. But it just like, it's kind of like a fresh take on the character. So I liked it, and also I liked the design. There's also a very like brief playable area where you play as Venom, and that was so fun. I feel like this really makes me wish to see more of this character. So yeah, definitely one of the best parts of the game. Even though you see him up until the very end, I feel like it was worth it, like worth the wait. And yeah, those are pretty much most of my thoughts on Spider-Man 2. I feel like it's a great game, a great character. Honestly, I consider myself one of the biggest Spider-Man fans of all time. I really have enjoyed this character from the very beginning since I was a kid. So talking about this game and playing it, it just makes me feel very happy. And yeah, those are pretty much all my thoughts. So if you like this video, please like, share, subscribe, and play Spider-Man 2. I think it is really worth it, and just an amazing game in general. So guys, see you later, and have an amazing day. Goodbye.